exactly what it is in a deeper way, what you do.
It's wonderful to be here, and before I start, I am giving this with compassion because I love what all of you guys do. And what I'd like to talk about today is who are you here to serve? So what I'd like you to do is answer 3 questions. You can either write this down on your serviette or on your phone. What do I call myself? Who's my target market? And what's my key offer to those that I serve? Let's give you a minute to write those answers down. You don't need to write an essay. It should just be a sentence for each answer. Okay, so thank you for that. What prompted me to talk about this topic was I've been helping the owner of a chain of learning centres in Sydney, and I asked him this question: who do you serve? And he said, well, anybody who knocks on my door. He's been doing this for decades. And he thinks that's a good answer because he thinks they know what he does. And of course, most of them don't. So most of his work is tutoring. And it's inefficient, it's boring, it's tedious, it's really slow. For some kids we never get there. It targets the symptoms, which I hate. We never get to the causes. And it isn't exciting for either me or him or his staff. He drags himself into the clinic every day. But it does pay the rent, and that's important. We've got to pay the rent. We know from the financial planner, we've got to pay the rent. So when I drill down and ask him, well, what really are you here, who are you here to serve? Who is your ideal client? Then we get a different story. The mums who come to see him, they know something's wrong. Like the mums I see, they trust their intuition. They're willing to do anything for their kid. At least they think that. They feel stressed and guilty, like many of the mums that come and see us. And they're well heeled, so they can afford to pay whatever he's going to deliver them. He's on the North Shore. They've got tons of money. They drive Porsches. They all have swimming pools. They have harbour views. And the children that they bring have low self-esteem. They're discouraged. They have trouble keeping eye contact. So there's a lot of work to do. So this is very different from anybody that knocks on my door. So think about this. How many ideal clients do you have in your practices? Hopefully your practices are full of ideal clients. Hopefully they're not just everybody that knocks on your door. So how do you identify an ideal client? It's not always that easy. So I'll share with you how I did it. So after you see every client, make a space, get quiet, and check into how you feel. If you feel like doing a Toyota jump, then you need to write down the features of the client that's just left. And you go on writing them down. Where they come from? What are their demographics? What are their attitudes? How did you feel about them? What did they dress? So on. And if you do that, after a while, you'll start seeing the patterns and you'll start seeing the ideal client coming off the page. And you'll then start understanding, oh, well, my ideal client is stressed. They're willing to do anything. They love their kids. They trust their intuition, and so on. And this will take a while, but it's worth persisting. It's really worth tapping into that moment when you feel like doing this Toyota jump.
Yeah.
So as a service provider, you can choose who you attract. You really can. Once you know your ideal client, or what we call the avatar, you can reflect this in your branding and your marketing. But you can't until you know who that ideal client is. And your messages will increasingly attract the right clients once you know who you're trying to attract. And the clearer you are about your ideal client, the faster they'll come. Now, when I worked for Maya, we recruited a woman from Kodak in the US, and she was really good at marketing. And she said that if you're building a brand, and we're all building our own brands, when you've done the work, when you've done the marketing messages correctly, those that come across your messages should be able to feel and taste you. If they can't feel and taste you, you haven't done the job. So think about the messages you put out. Can your clients feel and taste you? So I'd love to get excited about what you offer in this room, the messages that I hear. But I really struggle if you say you're another massage therapist, if you say you're an accountant, a mentor or a coach, because I hear so many of those messages and I find them boring. I find it much easier to get excited if you call yourself the baby whisperer, the iPhone first aid guy, the Mac guy, the dyslexia buster, and so on. So be creative about how you name yourself. Particularly the bottom one, tax minimizer. My goodness, I'd love it. Okay. So what have I called myself? So it's been a journey. I started off calling myself a dynamic listening consultant. And I love the word consultant because it's what surgeons call themselves. Then I added certified because I got certified. Everybody wants to know that, don't they? And then I added integrated. And it got longer and longer. I'm feeling better and better about it. And then I became a trainer, so I better add that in too. And then I thought, well, I finished my well-being diploma, so I'll add that on. And I now call myself the learning difficulty expert, which is much simpler. It's much shorter. And people better understand what I actually am there for. So, it's important to narrow your niche. And this can be scary because you might starve. No one's going to come to your door. All the hordes that you previously wanted to welcome, you're telling most of them to go away. Because actually I only want the people that I can really serve. And actually the opposite happens. The people will get what you do and they'll come to you if there's a good fit. And they'll come, the people that you can serve best with your magic will come to see you. And it really is incredible. When you change what is in here in terms of who you want to attract, they start coming. So that's why I'm the learning difficulty expert. It's that simple. And I serve bright, sensitive kids who are struggling to learn. They're my client group. I don't want to see anybody else. If you're dumb, go somewhere else. Go and see Patrick. Pay attention at school. He'll sort you out. He's much cleverer than me. And I serve mums who are frustrated, stressed and worried. So a lot of the people in in this group, we hear people talk about pivoting, and we've had a couple of examples this morning. Before I get to that, so I'd like you to have a look at the 3 answers that you put down today and review them after this session. Have a think about what I've said, and maybe you'll change some of your messages, because it's important. So in 2021, I'm going to pivot to a mobile practice. We've got our TARDIS, we can go anywhere, and I'm going to assess in-home, and I'm going to stop working in a clinic.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you're interested in checking your potential, your performance, I'm still there online, and you can take your listening scorecard. So I'm Harry, the Learning Difficulty Expert, and it's been great to chat to you today. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for David?
All your photos, by the way.
They are, yes.
They look gorgeous. As a photographer, they are awesome photos. Well done, that was really cool.
Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. In the last couple of weeks, I've become very aware of who I do not want to serve. And it was purely because someone in the network referred some people to me. And I can't stand working with people who are so embedded in their story that their story is what they want to maintain. They're actually not ready to heal. So my whole thing is, I only attract people, like I will never accept anyone from that person again because their clientele is not my fit.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I attract people and want people who want to heal. Don't come to me if you want to maintain your story.
Yeah.
So to get so clear on that was really interesting, and for you to say that, it was just like, wow, that's really important to know. Who do you want to serve? And I can't stand working with those people. They drain me, actually. So someone who's really ready to heal themselves is in a different mind space, head space, and actually do the work.
Very true. Very true. Any other questions?
Great.
Harry?
Thank you.
so much.
Welcome.